Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you are watching, yes, it's yours as well as my channel, and many of you have requested me that I should come up with a video on how to write a scoring essay. So here I am. I have thought on this, I have consulted quite a few books and then I have jotted down the points which will make a very scoring essay, which will help you to score as much as possible. So what are we waiting for? Let's start. Yes, you know what's coming. Before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the like button once you have watched my video. So let's start. Yes, welcome back, and while we are dealing with essays, let's discuss the different types of essays. In ICSE and ISE, you all must have seen or you are well aware that there are 5 types of essays. Especially in ICSE, you have a thematic one where you are supposed to see a picture, observe a picture, and on the basis of it you are supposed to write an essay. We also call it a picture composition, but you don't have that in ISE. Otherwise, more or less the topics, essay topics are quite consistent in the sense that you have a reflective, that means you have an essay descriptive one where you are supposed to describe something. It can be a street quarrel sort, I'm just giving an example, something to be described. And then you have a narrative one. So where you, what type of essay is a narrative one? So in a narrative one, a series of events are narrated. It can be an incident like a festival. It can be a festival. In order to make your narrative essays interesting, you can take help of dialogues. You can use dialogues, two people talking to make the essay more interesting, and this helps in scoring. It can be an accident, a natural calamity, a journey or a voyage. So it can relate also to a place of interest like an orphanage. You visit there and you get to know the lives of the orphans, or an old age home. You go to visit a museum or a historical place. And biography also of a great person. In narrative essay, you have to follow a chronological order, means what happened first, then what happened, then what happened, step by step. So like first, second, next, finally. So you will begin your essay, whichever type of essay it is, but you will begin it with a very interesting line. Try to begin it with a very interesting line which catches the attention of your readers or your examiners. Half job is nearly done when you begin with a very interesting or an eye-catching or an attractive beginning, the first line. There, as if you have scored half. And then what about a descriptive essay? When you try to attempt a descriptive essay, what are the things you need to keep in your mind? In this, you are supposed to describe places, people. They can be real, they can be imaginary. Like someone who has impressed you, or who you have been influenced by someone. Someone is your role model and you want to write about that person. So write the description in such a way that it appeals to the senses of the reader, the 5 senses. It can be the sense of sight, sound, touch, taste and hearing. So make your essay, descriptive essay, interesting in this way by appealing to the 5 senses. Then you can describe a person, real flesh and blood person. You can describe a scene, a place of scenic beauty. So describe, but describe in such a way that it makes an impression on your reader. So whether it is a reader or an examiner, of course you all are more concerned about your examiner as to how much marks you are going to score. Then comes your third one, argumentative essay. So this is a topic where you have to take only one side, either for or against. Either you support it or you denounce it. But whatever side you take, you have to give strong points in support of that. If you are against it, give your strong arguments to prove that it is not right. If you are for it, yes, uphold the topic, and your argument should be very logical. So that is why, unless you are fully convinced that going for or against would be the right thing to do, either you support it or you go against it. Unless you are fully convinced about it, don't attempt it. You cannot fool the examiner. And here a sense of bias also creeps up. Maybe you can you find that yes, this topic, I am giving you an example. Mobile phones have become a social menace. If this is the topic, most of the youngsters won't agree to it. You all find, yes, your life is rotating or around the mobile phone, and you are writing all points in favor, supporting it. But the examiner, he might feel that yes, it is so. You all say no, it is not so. And the examiner might not appreciate your view because he might have just a contrary view of it. So in that case, unless it is a one-sided topic, many times they give a one-sided topic where it is 90% will support the for or 90% will support the against motion. When it is a 50-50, it is very difficult. You don't know which side your examiner is, and he might be a prejudiced person. So there is always a risk. So I would suggest that instead of going for that type of topic, you choose something else. But if you are convinced, you can always go for it. Then if you can put forward your arguments well, then you can always score. And next comes story writing. So in story writing, if you are an imaginative person, you can really do well. You can really score well by keeping the reader's attention or your examination's attention glued to your story right from the beginning. So for story writing, you need to have a plot, and then you have to plan it. See, story writing, don't start writing randomly. First, frame it in your mind. Take at least 5 minutes. If you are attempting story writing, take 5 minutes, frame the story in your mind, and then proceed step by step. You must have noticed that in a story there is a climax. So you have to build the climax slowly and interestingly without boring your readers. So after that, you can try an anti-climax. The readers must be anticipating something as the climax, and then comes something which is very different from the anticipation of the readers. That is what we call anti-climax. So that can also appeal to the readers or your examiner. So if you can handle a story well, as I told you, open the windows of your imagination. If you are an imaginative person, then you can really score well. But always remember the steps through which you reach the climax. All of a sudden you can't reach the climax, and you can't drag it too long also. The reader will lose his interest. Remember, in Merchant of Venice, the climax is the court scene. So how the drama proceeds, and finally Shylock is there at the receiving end. Okay, so the reader's attention has been caught when we come to know that Antonio has lost a lot of money in business. We know what is coming. We anticipate the climax, but yes, there is no anti-climax here. whatever the readers anticipate, that is what happens. No, I think a little bit of twist there, but when we know Portia is coming as the lawyer, we know what to expect. Of course, if Portia is coming as the lawyer, Antonio has to win the case. However difficult or sad it might seem, sad in the sense sad for Antonio and his friends, but of course Portia will sail through somehow. Though everything seemed against Antonio, Portia will surely find something to bring him out of this predicament. So, writing a story, if you can be a good storyteller, go for it. And for the picture composition, whatever you see in it, your essay should have them. That means, suppose you are given some characters in the picture, so they should be a part of your essay. You can write it in a story form here also, or you can describe the characters or whatever you see in this picture. Describe it well, try to observe it and don't miss any point. Of course you can score in that, but I would advise you that it's best to go for the either narrative one or the descriptive one. Why? Because when you are answering an exam, especially a board exam, there is no time for experimenting. Rather go for something which comes easily, because if you can write it well with very few grammatical errors and no grammatical errors at all, and interestingly, you will of course score. Some people are of the opinion argumentative one, if you write that you will score, but if you don't have sound arguments, then why attempt that argumentative one? Only attempt when you know you can fight for your point, whether for or against. If you can fight and convince your readers that what you are saying is right, then only go for it. If you have solid points, then go for it. Okay, so these are the different types of essays, and in order to make your essay interesting, what are the types of words you will use? See, you will use simple English, but let the beginning be something which catches the attention, a very striking beginning. So what are the type of beginning? Like you can begin with a question. You can begin with a question. Like suppose you have been asked to write a ghost story or something, so you can begin with it. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe that ghosts exist? Do you believe in God? So you can put a question which will immediately catch the readers. He or she, that person would want to know what is coming next. So this is how you can begin, by starting with a question, asking a question, and then you can also begin with a proverb. A very popular proverb means something which is quite known to everyone. Like no, don't go out of context, but if you feel the proverb is very suitable, it can go with the essay topic, you can use a proverb. I'm just telling what is a proverb. Like we say, the empty vessels make the most noise, or something like that. Penny wise, pound foolish. A stitch in time saves 9. So when you are writing about something maybe related to punctuality, doing something in the proper time, at the proper time, so a stitch in time saves 9. You can begin with this and then continue with your essay. So when you begin with these type of things, when you have a beginning of this type, instead of beginning in the topic says this and I am here to talk on this, put forward my views or whatever you all do, instead of going that, chadak, comes a question, comes a proverb, and the examiner, yes, he starts taking an interest. It is a bit different from the hackneyed and monotonous stereotyped essays or the beginnings. And then you can also start with a quotation, like a a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Suppose you are describing some place which is noted for its scenic beauty, a visit to maybe a hill station, and then the scenery is splendid. So you can begin with this quotation, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. John Keats, one of the famous romantic poets, wrote this. It comes from John Keats. So the moment you write it, this is if a person belongs to the literature field, like your examiner will be good in literature, he would be having some sense of literature. So immediately he will get interested. Oh my God, this student has quoted Keats. Let's see what he writes, what follows. A thing of beauty is a joy forever, John Keats. So you can say, as John Keats had said, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. I personally feel, and you can continue with it. And then, or you are talking about the busy life and the stress and tension that follows in today's life. If you are to write about it, we have no time for any hobbies, entertaining hobbies and all that. And then you can quote a very famous line from the poem Leisure, written by W.H. Davis. I'm sure many of you have read it in your junior classes, maybe 5, 6 or 7, W.H. Davis, regarding the lack of leisure time in the life of man. So what is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. Or from that very same poem, at the end, when the poet says, a poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare, which is applicable in our case, the modern people. You have no time to stand and stare. The moment you get up from there, going to a coaching, going to school, returning with your bag, another coaching, and then finally dead tired, you enter your home, no time maybe to see the sunshine and enjoy what is around you. I don't know, it happens that many times I haven't been to my balcony to see the sunrise or the sunset. And then I feel, oh, I haven't seen the sun for some days. I'm so busy in my household course and my classes. And then I make it a point to go. Going to the terrace is far-fetched. So yes, in that case, if you are describing or talking on something like this, you can always say, a poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. And then point wise you go on describing the modern life. If you get, of course your quotations have to be relevant. You can't just quote for the sake of quoting and it has no connection to your essay. Don't do that. And then when you are stepwise discussing your points, so suppose instead of using then, some students have a habit. I've been correcting copies of my students for the last 27 years and I've said then. So introducing another point, then. So it seems so boring for the readers. So instead of then, you can go pointwise, firstly, secondly, next, after that. You can go in this way. Or when you are beginning, you can say when you are introducing your points, to start with. Another nice one is first and foremost. You are giving importance to that point, so you are bringing it in the beginning only. So first and foremost would be a nice word to introduce your point, a nice phrase. I wouldn't say a word because there are 3, first and foremost. So a very nice phrase to introduce your most potent point. And then you can say furthermore, in addition, or suppose one point which you find is quite worthy, so you can write in this way, another point worthy of noting. When you are ending your points, you can write finally, or you are introducing one point in the end, but it is no less important than the other points. Then you can say last but not least. Many times, like you see that people, when they thank others, so last but not least, I would like to thank these people. So in the same way, the point which you are introducing, you can write last but not least. You are writing your last point, but you can write in this way instead of saying finally or lastly. Sometimes I have seen it. That sounds very odd. Instead you say last but not least, I would like to say, or I would like to highlight this point. So that makes interesting reading, and immediately it creates a very good impression on the examiner. So when you are expressing a contrast between two things, so you can say on one hand, and then after that when you are going for the second, discussing the second one, on the other hand. However, in spite of, you can use these when you are trying to show a contrast between two things. When you are trying to express a reason or a result of something, the result of this, what happens is this. So you can say as a result, consequently. Consequently also means as a result, or on account of, this is a reason, on account of this happened. On account of, consequently is the result, and as a result. Two things are as a result and consequently. And reason, on account of this, because of this. Instead of writing because of this, if you write on account of this, it sounds much better. When you are presenting your opinion, how will you say? It is my opinion. Instead of this, you can say, as far as I am concerned. Doesn't it sound better? In my opinion. Instead of that, if you write as far as I am concerned, or you can also say I personally feel, this means that yes, it is my opinion. Okay, and then how will you end? How will you end? So when you come to the last point, remember, the last impression is the best impression. So don't conclude just like that. Many times when you don't have ample time, you feel time is running out, and you finish in a very shabby and hasty manner. You don't give much importance to the ending. Don't do that. Many times, I don't know how far it is correct, but many times I have seen examiners pay most importance to the first part and the last part. I am not saying they don't read the middle, but the first part and the last part, they create a lot of, as I told you in the beginning, give a very attractive sentence which compels the attention of the examiner. In the same way, the last one, last but not least, as I said, last part also has to be fully developed, and for that, space your time properly, plan your time properly. Many times you run out of time, so somehow you complete it. But no, last part of the essay is also an important part, and you have to develop it. You can't leave it like that. So you can, sometimes we have seen in conclusion, or so we can deduce, but these seem a bit laymanish. You can, if you write, okay, but instead of it, if you write all things considered, if you end in this way, or taking everything into consideration, doesn't it sound good? On the whole, by and large, these are some nice ways in which you can end your essay. So I have found these from different books. I have put them in one place for your benefit. So if you handle your essay in this way and the words I told you, I am sure you will score well. And don't forget to make several paragraphs. First paragraph is your introduction to the topic, and in 2, 3, 4 paragraphs you can develop the body of your essay, and one paragraph finally for your conclusion. So 3 to 4 paragraphs at least, rather 5 would be better. 3 paragraphs you can chronologically for your narrative one. So try to develop your essay properly. Introduction, conclusion 2, 1 and 1, and 2, 3 and 4 for the body of the essay. So 4 to 5 paragraphs, go for it. Don't try to put all the points in the main only one. So many times I have seen students, they write 3 paragraphs. Introduction, body and conclusion, they are told 3 parts of the essay. There may be 3 parts of the essay, but the body part, why don't you divide it into 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs? Because when you are dealing with the points, try to change the paragraphs. That will attract the attention of the readers to the different points. Otherwise, he might feel that you are going on describing this, going on with the same point. If you write all your points in one, see, they have to correct a number of copies. So unless you make the job easy for him, it is your problem if you don't make his job easy by writing in several paragraphs. The moment you change a paragraph, it attracts the attention of the reader or your examiner. Paragraph change, why? Is there another point? Otherwise, they have to read very fast. So just help your reader or your examiner by trying to point out, no, I am writing something different in this paragraph. But if you write in one paragraph, he might be of the opinion, this person has gone on talking and writing in the same, focusing on the same point. So for this, your paragraphs are very important. Okay, so how about it? How did you like it? I am waiting for your comments. And yes, thank you for watching my video, and I am sure it must have satisfied you, because many of you had wanted to know how to write a scoring essay. I think if you write in this way, otherwise it's plain simple English, but one thing I keep on reminding you every time is that your essay or your letter or whatever you are writing, they have to be grammatically perfect. No mistake in your tenses and prepositions. And another thing you have to remember is that write short, simple sentence, because the moment you try to write lengthy sentences, lengthy sentence with a lot of clauses, what happens? You lose coherence, you lose track, and then the tenses, there are mistakes, there are errors in your tenses. I have seen many of my students also, they begin with one tense and they continue with another. Why? Because they are going on adding clauses. So my mantra for writing a perfect essay is write short, simple sentence. For your literature also, I keep on telling you, in order to score the maximum, short, simple sentence. Simple sentence just doesn't mean simple in language. Simple sentence means it should have only one verb or a clause, one clause. At the most 2, but don't go for a lengthy sentence. Okay, I think that is enough for today. And if you practice, practice and practice. Essay writing needs a lot of practice. So just don't go to the examination hall, sit and start writing. That is what most of you all do. I don't think, there are very few diligent students who practice at home before they go to the hall. We'll manage it. And that is why you don't score well. Okay, so please practice. At least once in a week, go for an essay, or twice in a week, write an essay of a different type. Whichever type you want to write, go on writing on that. If you don't feel comfortable with argumentative one, don't. I am always saying narrative, descriptive, story writing if you are a good storyteller, thematic if you are observant and you can find everything that is in the picture. Argumentative, if you are a good debater, go for it, if you can convince your readers. But whichever one you want to write or you are strong in, focus on that and keep on writing essays of that type. And one tip is that I have found in the last more than 20 years, one book I always appreciate. He is no relation of mine, but I have found it is very helpful. The ICSE essays by DR.A.K.MUKHERJEE. As I said, he is no relation of mine, but what he does is to write down the essays on those topics which come every year in the boards. So like suppose 2021 or 2020, I am just talking, these are the 5 essays which had come in the boards. So you will find them there. So I mean to say, they are not the probables, because ICSE doesn't go for, ISE doesn't go for any probability in the case of essays. Every time it is a new essay. The topics are always new, never repeated. But that book will help you to develop your knowledge, develop your language. If you read that, I have found it practically very helpful. I have advised it to my students also, of my offline or my coaching students also. If you read it, your language will develop. Yeah, at places the language is a bit high, but if you read it, you will get accustomed to it. So you can try it. I will write it in the description box also if you want. And now for the time being, let's bid goodbye to each other and happy preparations.